My fellow Americans, this is Liberation Day.
And tens of thousands of protesters have gathered across the United States and other parts of the world.
Remembered as the day American industry was reborn.
I feel like the past 24 hours has just been a complete nightmare.
The stock market is plummeting in response to
down on fresh fears over tariffs.
I was saved by God to make America great again.
This new administration done so much damage.
Oligarchy is taking over our country.
No rationale, no plan, no conscience.
We are seeing dramatic shifts in U.S. trade policy, with the real consequences for both Americans and global markets. What began as a promise to make America great again has instead created a perfect storm of rising prices and supply chain disruptions. Hello people, it's Xinchen here. Now, let's unpack how we got here. Our investigation begins in East China. EU in East China sent over $12 billion worth of goodies to the US in 2024. We're talking toys, hardware tools, fabrics, and even holiday decorations, all caught in the crossfire of US tariffs. I've heard these are super popular in the United States.
They are.
Okay.
Hundreds of containers of these get shipped to the US every month. I think around $10 in the retail stores.
So regular consumers can spend $10 and do it at home.
Exactly. It's super affordable. So yeah, these comes with...
So it says like press on short lens. So it's a shorter lens.
Yes.
So there are different options.
Yeah, I think they have more than 20,000 SKUs. You just have to open it here.
Yes.
The gel, it's actually on the nail already.
1 second, people can just put it on.
Exactly.
And change styles.
Yeah.
I wear press-ons all the time.
Press-on nails help me out a ton.
So China now has a 125%
Some $300 million worth
tariff.
of China-made press-on nails enter the US every year, owning nearly half the market. But tariffs? They are putting the glam in jeopardy for American nail lovers.
There's a freeze of business right now. There's a low stock in the local retail market. The price of these are going to go up very quickly, very soon.
Are there other alternative sources for these fingernails?
China is the biggest manufacturing place for this right now. This has never been made in the US before, and I don't think it's possible to have it made in the US in the future either. It's impossible.
Dig a little deeper, and it's not just about pretty nails. It's about the key material that makes them. ABS, the plastic backbone for cars, electronics, toys, and medical equipment. 60% of the world's ABS supply comes from China, 17% from South Korea, and 6% from Japan. The US isn't exactly pumping out ABS. When tariffs kick in, existing US manufacturers face higher costs overnight. So who pays the price?
Hi, Josie Pani. Welcome to join our channel. Today we are selling only for $19.99. $19.99, Jennifer, for the apple flavor.
So this is live on TikTok.
Yeah. This is our TikTok live stream. We sell perfume and the other products. 一共是半年左右卖了10几万本，然后包括像这个马克笔，我们在美区卖的也特别好。这些都是文具类的。
Live stream shopping is booming in the US, projected to hit $68 billion by 2026. With tariffs now in play, consumer confidence is taking a hit. Shoppers worry about prices and eventually if any goods can still be shipped.
因为美国也有很多就是中下，就是或者说中等收入以下的这些群体。其实我们现在卖的很多这些产品，像义乌这边的产品，其实都是给那边就是消费能力可能没有那么强的，或者没有那么高的一些用户，所以他们对于这个价格的变化，它敏感度其实还蛮高的。
But the price going up, that is for sure going to happen for the consumer. But that's only one thing. Another thing is, this type of Chinese model e-commerce really brought a lot of opportunities for Americans because, someone could just, start a live stream at home with their phone and start making money. It's it's actually creating a lot of jobs. They're selling products that are made in China. And now, because they have to pay more to import these products, their profit are going to get affected as well.
The stock market is plummeting.
Down on fresh fears over tariffs.
And tens of thousands of protesters have gathered across the United States and other parts of the world.
How we got here?
My fellow Americans, this is Liberation Day.
The price are going to go up very quickly.
A complete nightmare.
Right now, we are suffering.
Oligarchy is taking over our country.
The old relationship we had with the United States is over.
Join our investigation into the real cost of U.S. tariffs, hearing directly from those affected.
Instead of it being America first, it's America alone.
解铃还需系铃人.
Let's talk about the impact of tariffs on small business.
Small business owners in the U.S. really took a hit from the tariffs.
And then overnight, the cost just more than doubled. My margins were gone.
I am absolutely going to implode.
I have 20 employees, and right now we are suffering under the stresses of these tariffs.
For me and many other small businesses, this is not temporary pain. This is sudden death. This is instant death in the full size. So I'm a mom that solved the problem all new parents have of babies dropping and throwing everything. So I created a line of products that allow you to keep things within reach and off the ground. And we continually do production in China. And we have products that are ready to ship here now. They were supposed to ship last week. However, once the tariffs were announced and we realized that instead of paying $30,000, we were going to have to pay $230,000, we don't have that kind of money in 2 months when we run out of this stuff. There's nothing else to sell. I was sitting on my kitchen floor crying the other day, and my son came and sat by me. And I realized I can't teach him this. I can't teach him that we sit down and cry when things get hard.
Make America Great Again, the Made in China version, $4. The official Trump store, $47. Yeah, it is proudly made in the USA, but that 12 times markup? Consumers are picking up the tab. It doesn't quite match the promise of putting money back in Americans' pockets. Let me break it down how much the US depends on the world. Let's start with garments and apparel, with over 90% of the US demand met by imports, 18% from China, 24% from other major Asian suppliers such as Bangladesh, Cambodia, India. The US can only produce 10% of the country's consumption. When it comes to smartphones, industry estimates say that as of 2025, less than 5% of the ones sold in the US are made or assembled in the US. The vast majority, over 95%, are built overseas, mostly in places like China, India, and Vietnam. Your smartphones? Not likely made in the USA. Holiday decorations? People might cut their own Christmas trees, but everything on the trees are from outside the US. Are Americans ready to strip all the fun out of the holidays? Weaponizing tariffs doesn't just lead to higher prices. In the end, it's about whether there's anything left for people to even buy.
They're bracing for price hikes.
And that could mean higher prices at the
grocery store bill. It could be a little bit higher because of Trump's tariffs.
You do start to worry about the global supply chain already kind of screeching to a halt.
And possible abandonment of the U.S. market.
We're going to have to go through a little tough love, but they all understand.
Tariffs are catching everyone, US allies and competitors alike. And for bigger countries, they are not afraid to fight back. China, Canada, and the European Union have all retaliated with their own tariffs on US goods, targeting everything from agricultural products to steel and aluminum.
单边加征关税措施完全由美方发起，解铃还需系铃人。我们敦促美方立即停止极限施压，停止胁迫讹诈。
As the United States are applying tariffs worth $28 billion, we are responding with countermeasures worth 26 billion euros.
The old relationship we had with the United States is over.
Following U.S. 25% auto tariff came into effect, Stellantis assembly plant in Windsor, Canada, decided to temporarily shut down.
It's hard to comprehend at first, and it's hard to see where things are going to go from here, right?
A little nervous, to be honest. Right now, with the way things are going over in the United States, it definitely affects us. And if we're not selling cars, we're not going to have a job.
Stellantis also announced it would pause production at a plant in Mexico and temporarily lay off some 900 workers at 2 plants in the U.S. Midwest, in Michigan and Indiana.
The car companies will not keep building cars if they can't sell them. They just can't do that, and they won't. So if they're not building cars, they will lay the workers off. This will snowball through the entire economy of the globe.
To stand up for its people, Canada hit back with 25% retaliatory tariffs on U.S. vehicles that are not compliant with the U.S.-Mexico-Canada Free Trade Agreement.
We will fight the U.S. tariffs with retaliatory trade actions of our own that will have maximum impact in the United States and minimum impacts here in Canada.
Facing retaliatory actions, U.S. President Donald Trump announced a sudden 90-day pause on some tariffs on social media. Does it provide a temporary relief to some countries? Not exactly. Mounting uncertainties, even top U.S. trade officials were left in the dark.
What do you know about this pause? What are the details of it? How many days? How many weeks?
I understand it's 90 days. I haven't spoken to the president since I've been.
So the trade representative hasn't spoken to the president of the United States about a global reordering of trade.
Yes, I have. I've just been in the hearing with you, sir.
But yet he announced it on a tweet.
Policies being reversed, going back and forth, and it's really confusing. For the next 4 years, a lot of people are going to be nervous, and when people are nervous, they just stop moving entirely. And that's where things start to slow down, because orders are canceled, orders are delayed. From there, it leads to layoffs. So my issue right now is the uncertainty. So the Trump administration isn't coming forward and saying, okay, we want this, this, and this. It's completely unclear what they're asking for.
The back and forth over tariffs even brought down U.S. Customs computers. Yet hours before announcing the 90-day pause, President Trump posted this on Truth Social. This is a great time to buy DJT. Stocks surged with Trump media stock jumping over 20% that day. Staff in the Oval Office also posted this on X.
It's not just a company, it's actually an individual. And he made $2.5 billion today, and he made $900 million. That's not bad, because he's in financials. I've always been.
These billions are not backing Americans' people's pockets. The uncertainties and drama, former U.S. Secretary of State summarized as
will develop. But the message that this is sent to countries around the world, including some of our closest allies and partners, is we need to move away from the United States. We can't rely on the United States. We're heading to a place where instead of it being America first, it's America alone.
The stock market is plummeting down on fresh fears over tariffs.
And tens of thousands of protesters have gathered across the United States and other parts of the world.
How we got here.
My fellow Americans, this is Liberation Day.
The price are going to go up very quickly.
A complete nightmare.
Right now, we are suffering.
Oligarchy is taking over our country.
The old relationship we had with the United States is over.
Join our investigation into the real cost of U.S. tariffs, hearing directly from those affected.
Instead of it being America first, it's America alone.
解铃还需系铃人.
The Trump administration has justified tariff increases by pointing to American trade deficits with other countries. But are trade deficits inherently negative? In a thriving economy, increased imports from global manufacturing can actually be beneficial, helping to keep inflation in check. However, current tariff policies in the U.S. appear to be doing the opposite.
The effects of that are likely to move us away from our goals. So unemployment is likely to go up as the economy slows in all likelihood, and inflation is likely to go up as tariffs find their way, and some part of those tariffs come to be paid by the public.
If they were to increase tariffs even more, then obviously that the greater impact, and that would increase the risks of a recession. Increasing tariffs is a tax on consumers as well. So, this is all sort of feeding into the weaker US economic growth narrative. And on the other hand, we have the fact that they're inflationary. We had obviously Fed Chairman Powell talking overnight and just sort of flagging that it's putting them in a very difficult situation, which is very clear, right? So they've got.
The world is no longer optimistic about the U.S. economy. The Peterson Institute forecasts U.S. growth to fall from 2.5% in 2024 to 0.1% in 2025, all due to policy uncertainties from the White House.
But are things getting expensive in the U.S.?
Subway's footlong prices soared 50% over the past decade. The iconic $5 footlong disappeared in 2017. Meanwhile, median U.S. wage annual increases averaged out around 3.4% in the past decade. Yet, with tariffs in play, inflation could hit 4% in 2025, wiping out all the gains.
Bringing manufacturing back to the U.S. isn't as simple as flipping a switch. Small-scale manufacturing might return in 1 to 3 years. With automation, a robust domestic supply chain could take 10 to 20 years to build, but that's more jobs for robots than for real Americans. Globalized manufacturing remains accessible for everything we need. So what's the choice here? Turning back on global trade to make baseball caps? At what cost?